It's 5:32 in the morning. The kitchen is dark except for the light over the stove. You don't turn on the overhead anymore, not since you started counting what a kilowatt actually costs. The coffee in front of you has gone cold. For the first time in 43 years, you don't have to get dressed for work. Today is retirement day, the day your entire life was quietly built around reaching. You open the laptop. You log into the account you've watched grow in tiny increments since you were 25. $46,000. 30 years ago, that number would have sounded like something. This morning, doing the math you've already done 100 times, it sounds like a countdown with too few digits on the clock. 2 weeks later, the first payment lands. Social Security, plus the small pension your company still technically owes you. $1,940. You stare at the number the way you used to stare at a performance review. You do the arithmetic you swore you'd never have to do again. Mortgage, still not paid off after a refinance 9 years ago. Insurance, the property tax bill sitting unopened on the counter. You worked 43 years, full-time, some years 2 jobs. You pictured this number being something, a cushion, a reward. Instead, it's barely a floor, and you can already feel how thin the floor is. This wasn't the life you thought you'd have. You'd pictured mornings on a porch somewhere warmer. You have mornings at this same table, doing the same math you did the night before you turned 18. And swore you'd never live paycheck to paycheck again. 3 weeks into retirement, the electricity bill comes, $214, higher than last month. You go around the house that evening unplugging things that were never plugged in to cost you anything. The toaster, the lamp in the hallway nobody uses. It doesn't change the bill. It changes something in you though, a kind of vigilance you thought you'd earned the right to put down. Your wife finds you standing in the dark hallway, hand on a light switch you haven't touched. "You okay?" she asks. "Just checking something," you say. You don't tell her what. You sit back down at the table, and everything you've added up so far, the check, the bill, the number that was supposed to mean something by now, settles on you all at once. Your mind does what it always does when the math gets too heavy to hold. It goes looking for somewhere lighter to stand. It goes back. You're 25 again, for just a second. A cramped apartment bathroom, a bulb that buzzed if you looked at it too long. You point at your own reflection and say, half joking, "One day I'm going to be free. No boss. No clock, just me." You believe freedom has an address, and if you work hard enough, long enough, you'll eventually arrive there. Standing there, 25 and sure of everything, you have no reason yet to doubt it. And then, just as fast as it came, the bathroom, the bulb, and the boy in the mirror are gone. You're back at your own kitchen table, decades later, holding the rest of that promise in your hands. Nobody told you back in that bathroom that freedom could still come with a bill attached. The water bill comes next, then the property tax notice, a week early this year, like it knows. You start doing the grocery trip differently now, store brand instead of name brand. You put back the good coffee and pick up the one you don't actually like. Your son calls to invite you to Sunday dinner downtown. You tell him you're tired. The truth is the drive costs gas. The dinner costs more than you want to admit, and some quiet, humiliating part of you doesn't want him to watch you glance at the check. You used to be the one who paid for everyone. Now you do math before saying yes to a hamburger. That night you lie awake longer than you mean to, running the same numbers in a different order, hoping they'll add up differently if you just approach them from another angle. They don't. But somewhere in that half-awake stretch before sleep finally takes you, an old memory pulls you back uninvited. You're 30 years back, standing outside a school auditorium for just a moment. Your daughter is 7. She's been rehearsing her line for 2 weeks, saying it to the dog, to the mirror, to anyone who'll stand still long enough. Third tree from the left, but she's got the one line in the second act, and she's told you about it 4 times a day since September. The play is at 6:30 on a Thursday. Your shift supervisor asks if you can stay late. A rush order, time and a half. You do the math before you've even decided. Time and a half for 4 hours is real money. Money that goes straight into the account you're building for a someday that still feels a long way off. You tell your wife to film it on the camcorder. You'll watch it later, you say. You mean it when you say it. You stay for the overtime. You get the check 2 weeks later. $187 after taxes. You never do watch the tape. It sits in a drawer for years, then gets packed into a box during a move. Then the box gets water damage in the garage sometime around 2011. And by the time anyone thinks to look for it, the tape's ruined. Nobody notices for a long time. Your daughter stops asking if you watched it sometime around her 9th birthday, and you don't notice that either. The auditorium fades. The dog, the mirror, the rehearsed line. All 30 years gone now. You're back in your kitchen, morning light just starting to come in through the window over the sink. You're still sitting there, the retirement account still open in front of you, and something lines up in your head that never has before. $187. That's what the missed play cost, and paid for, all at once. You try to remember what that $187 even went toward. You can't. It's long gone, folded into a mortgage payment or a car repair decades ago, indistinguishable now from every other dollar that ever passed through the account. But you remember, with a clarity that surprises you, the exact color of the paper tree costume she wore. You remember it because your wife described it to you that night, in detail, trying to hand you the evening back secondhand. You said all the right things. You still missed it. You did the math that night in 1998 the same way you've done it every day since. And for the first time, sitting at this table 30 years later, you understand what the math never showed you. You didn't just miss the memory. The money you took instead is gone too. You gave up the only copy of that evening that would ever exist for $187 that stopped existing years ago and never even bought the thing it was supposed to protect you from. You got neither. You have gotten neither for 30 years, and this is the first morning you've ever let yourself add it up. The furnace quote comes back at $1,400. You don't have it sitting loose anywhere. So one Saturday, you go out to the garage and look, really look, at the things in it for the first time in years. The table saw, the lathe, 30 years of Saturday afternoon woodworking, gifts you made for grandkids who are almost grown now. You post the table saw online that night. A stranger comes by Tuesday and hands you $600 in cash for something that took you 4 years of overtime to save up for in 1994. You watch him load it into his truck. You wave like it's nothing. You go back inside and it takes everything you have not to sit down on the garage floor. That empty spot in the garage stays with you longer than you expect. You find yourself standing in the doorway of it more than once that week, looking at the gap in the dust where the saw used to sit. And your mind reaches back again, further this time. You're 20 years back, sitting on cold aluminum bleachers for just a moment. Your son is at second base, 9 years old, uniform 2 sizes too big, looking for your face in the crowd. Your phone rings. Work. You step away. Just for a second, you tell yourself. By the time you sit back down, the inning's over. He finds you in the stands and gives a small wave, the kind kids give when they've quietly stopped expecting more. You told yourself you were building something for him. A future, security, a number in an account. The bleachers, the small wave, the boy in the too big uniform, 20 years gone in an instant. You're standing in your garage doorway again, looking at a gap in the dust. You didn't know it back then, on those bleachers. The number would still be scaring you 2 decades later, in this exact garage, watching a stranger drive off with your table saw. You run into Dale at the pharmacy. You worked next to him for 11 years. He retired 8 months before you, and he looks lighter somehow, tanned. He moves easily, stands straight, shakes your hand with a grip that surprises you. He mentions a trip to Portugal like it's nothing, and mentions, almost in passing, the 6 a.m. walks he's done every morning for years. "How you finding retirement?" he asks, and you hear yourself say, "Can't complain," the way you've said it your whole life, even when there was plenty to complain about. Standing there, you notice something you'd rather not. Dale is 2 years older than you. He looks, if anything, younger. Driving away from the pharmacy, you catch your own reflection in the rearview mirror at a stoplight, and it takes you a second to place why it bothers you so much. Then you remember exactly where you last looked at yourself and believed something different. You're 2 years further back than the bathroom mirror, still young enough to believe your body owes you nothing yet. Your buddy Marcus calls, the way he does most Januaries, asking if you want to finally join the gym with him. You want to. You mean it when you say yes. You even go twice. A cramped place above a hardware store, free weights and a single treadmill with a rattle in it. The third week, a supervisor asks if you can cover a double. Time and a half. You take it. You tell yourself you'll go back to the gym once things settle down. They don't settle down. Marcus keeps going without you for a while, then stops calling to ask. Somewhere in the years that follow, "I'll start Monday" becomes a sentence you say so often it stops meaning anything at all. The way a word repeated too many times stops sounding like a real word. You do not become the version of yourself you pictured lifting that free weight bar twice, all those years ago. You become a version that's tired more often than not. that takes the stairs a little slower every year, that tells yourself there was never really time to do anything about it. The gym above the hardware store closes sometime in the 2000s. You're back at the stoplight, mirror still tilted toward your own face, light still red. You sit with it a moment longer than the light requires. It was never actually true that there was no time. Marcus found time, twice a week, for 30 years, and he didn't have any less on his plate than you did. Dale found it too, apparently, somewhere along the way. You just kept choosing the shift instead, the same way you kept choosing the overtime over the auditorium, telling yourself each time it was the responsible choice, the temporary choice, until temporary became the only choice you ever made. You didn't need a different life to have taken care of yourself. You needed to stop postponing the same ordinary Tuesday over and over for 30 years running. You drive home that day a little sad, in a way you can't fully explain to yourself. Somewhere between the pharmacy and your own driveway, it settles on you plainly. You miss the memory and the money, both, at the same time, on the exact same evenings. Not one or the other, both, every time, for 43 years. And somewhere in there, without ever quite deciding to, you gave up your health the same way. Not all at once, just one skipped Monday at a time, until the Mondays added up to this. You think about your kids, about the neighbor's boy who mows your lawn and talks about working doubles all summer to save for a truck. You think about every young person you've ever met who says later, once things settle down. You want, badly, to pull each of them aside and tell them exactly what your father told you in that hospital room. Pass the same 4 lines forward, the way he passed them to you. You don't know if they'd listen. You didn't, not really, not for 30 more years. Maybe they wouldn't either. But you find yourself wanting to say it anyway, to anyone who'll stand still long enough to hear it. Somewhere around a red light you've sat at 1,000 times, the quiet gives way, and the last memory you've been avoiding finally lets itself in. You're 8 years further back this time, in a hospital room too small for what's happening inside it. Your father is in a bed too big for how small he'd gotten. He holds your hand and says the thing you never repeat to anyone. I saved my whole life, and I'm still afraid. Nobody tells you that part. You're 34. You nod like you understand. You don't, not really. The hospital room dissolves the way the others did. You're back behind the wheel, engine idling, light still red. You didn't understand your father's words back then. Not until this year, watching a stranger drive off with your table saw, understanding them completely. This wasn't the life he thought he'd have either. You just never let yourself notice the two of you had the same ending in common. You spent 43 years working toward a door marked free. You got there. You walked through it. And on the other side is the same kitchen table, the same monthly check that doesn't stretch as far as it should, the same hand hovering over a light switch at 9 p.m. Except now there's no more overtime to pick up if the number falls short. No promotion coming to bail you out. Just the number you have. The years you don't know the length of. A garage a little emptier than it was last spring. A tape that never got watched. And a body that spent 30 years waiting for a Monday that never came. You worked to escape a kind of fear. You just traded it for a quieter one. One that shows up disguised as a monthly deposit instead of a paycheck. We didn't make this to scare you. We're not saying don't work. We're not saying walk away from your job tomorrow. We made this because every single day you have was always meant to be lived, not stored away for a version of freedom that still comes with its own fear attached. So look around you. Sometimes you don't have to postpone things, because the years will pass anyway, and one morning you'll realize the things you traded them for were never worth what they cost you.